Here with Danni McCormack. I initially reached out to Danni because of the fantastic job she done at the youth, bringing back 23 medals, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. And then I'd seen there was news coming soon. So I was just, by chance, was able to get her on this day. How are you? How's things? And are you comfortable talking about what this big news is?
Yeah, hey, how are you getting on? I'm at home all day today. Adam's gone up to Derry to the ISK Open. So you caught me on a cleaning day when I was at home. So good timing. Yeah, so as of this morning, I got released from Invicta. So that's sad news, but exciting news at the same time. I asked for the release myself. And it all happened like amicably, if that's the word.
Yes.
And they also said that they'd be happy to have me back anytime. So that's really important to me because Shannon has been really, really good to me, and Victor's given me some of the best days in my career. So there's absolutely no animosity between me and Victor whatsoever. I'm so grateful, and maybe down the line I'll end up back in Invicta as well. So I haven't fought since the end of October. And I guess what was the plan before I had the fight in October was to get a finish. And that was kind of my direction from the UFC. And I did that. And then they had suggested before that fight that I get two finishes. So after the one finish, I hoped that that would have been enough to make the move. But at the time, coming into Christmas, they said that they were totally full up. They weren't taking any more straw weights. And I can totally see their point of view. They have taken a lot of straw weights in the last 12 months, a lot from the Contender Series as well. And I see that a lot of those girls haven't fought or have only fought once. So I don't think they're, messing me around. I think they're honestly full, and unfortunate timing for me. So the plan was then to get another fight with Invicta and get another finish, and then hopefully have another conversation with the UFC. But Invicta have, I suppose, been taken over by new ownership last year, and they're also working on a lot of new things for the company. So they're working on a new broadcast deal, and they're working on documentaries and different things. So they've got lots of exciting things coming up. But like with everything, when you've got loads of things coming up and loads of kind of changes and plans, it means that there's not a lot of room to run shows. So there was no sign of a show to be ran in the first 3 months of this year. I kind of waited out and hoped that would happen, but I'm understanding of their situation why that couldn't happen. So again, bad timing for me. And unfortunately, I'm only getting older every birthday, not younger, which would be great if that's the way it went, but it doesn't. So I had to make a move. I had to make some tough calls. So, as a champion in Invicta, I was told before that they didn't want to let you go for the Contender Series. So I spoke with my manager, and spoke with John and Alan, and we thought as a team that the best thing would be for me to become a free agent, so that it would be easier for me to hopefully get onto the Contender, or if not on the Contender, that I'd be able to be available if the UFC wanted to take me at any time short notice, and also be available for any other strawweight fight where I could pick up another finish and get myself closer to getting that UFC contract. So, I suppose as a champion in Invicta, you have obligations to follow, and you've got a 25-minute fight to prepare for over 9 weeks. So things don't happen as quickly. Whereas now as a free agent, I've given myself a lot of options that between now and the summer, hopefully something could happen for me.
Yeah, it is. It's surprising news. Obviously, with the champ, I would have assumed before, even because you defended it twice and you got the finish, I would assume that would have been the ticket into the UFC. And like you said, you've noticed the strawweights going in and they haven't fought. So obviously they're not messing you around. That they're struggling to get these females fighting. But you made the decision which was best for you and your career. And it's good that it ended in the way it did, amicably. I can't even say the word either.
Yeah.
I struggle with it, but it's going back. So And you look at, you talked about being able to jump at, maybe if the UC gave you an opportunity. Look at Kiefer Crosby, for example, from your own gym. He came in on short notice and is now signed to the UFC. Is that something like that is what you could potentially hope for? Or are you looking anywhere in particular to pick up a fight? Or are you just going to take the next few weeks and see what's the best option for you?
Like, the best option would be if they picked me up now that I'm a free agent. If they said, okay, well, it just by happens, we're stuck for a strawweight in 3 or 4 weeks' time or in 6 weeks' time, and we'll just slot her in. That would be the best thing to happen. And that couldn't happen when I was in contract with Invicta. But it could happen now. And then the second best option would be to get on the Contender Series and plan, put my head down and work towards that at the end of the summer, and know that I know I can show up and I know I can get my contract. And like, it's just, I'm just really confident in that process for me. I know I'd have to take a hit on a less financial contract. You take way less money coming in through the Contender, but I'm not in it for money at this stage. I'm in it because I want to be in the UFC. And then the final option, if neither of those two things happened, that they didn't find me for the Contender and they didn't take me short notice, it is that I go and get a fight and get a finish and then reapproach them again. So that's, I suppose, the least favorable option for me, because just going getting a random fight, and I've always fought legit girls, always. So I don't know how I'm going to get like this random one-off fight and not fight a legit girl. I'll probably end up fighting someone that's rubbish, and then I get a finish, and it's probably not going to mean anything to the UFC. So like, I really don't like that option, because I pride myself in being very competitive and wanting to fight the best people in the world. And being in Invicta, I had that opportunity. And the idea of just going on a regional show and having a one-off fight to literally get the finish is like not something that sets my world on fire. But if that's what I have to do to get the job done, then I'll do that. So I'm not looking at anywhere in particular. I suppose I'm open to options, and I'm a free agent now, so I am open for anyone to approach me and offer me something. But it will be one fight deals. It will be more short term things. Like, I'm not going to sign up for a fight that's in 12 weeks' time and sign a contract, and then suddenly the UFC say, hey, and I'm signed into some contract to fight, some, like, whatever. I'm not even going to go into insults there, but like, if you get me, I'm not going to like sign my life away for 200 quid in a GA hall that's in 12 weeks' time or something. So yeah, I just need to be careful about what happens now. But I am a free agent. I am open to options. I'm open to people to approach me. But my number one goal is, and I'm always honest, is to be in the UFC now. By the end of this year, I need to be in the UFC. I need to start making it happen. So that's where my future lies.
Yeah, and I think the same, me among others. Are you surprised? Because I know myself, I'm surprised, and a couple of other media members that I would talk to are surprised that you haven't been signed, and especially with, like you said, you haven't fought since October, so it's nearly 6 months out of cage. How frustrating has this been for you, this time period?
Like, I'm a realist, and like, I really see things as they are, and I listen to everything, and I listen to every interview and every piece of information and media that I can get. And I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. So like, I listened to Paul Hughes on the Owl Triangle the other day, and he was saying, I think, the original roadmap to getting into the UFC was become Cage Warriors champion, and then you just got brought straight into the UFC. But now that has changed. And he said that on the podcast, and I can see that change myself as well. So with the Contender Series now being such a big push for the UFC, they don't really care about all of these champions coming out of like really legit organizations. So for women, it was Invicta. For men, it was Cage Warriors. We get the belt and we get a contract. Like, I'm the first ever strawweight Invicta champion to defend, because all the others were picked up. And I don't think that that's anything wrong with me or anything wrong with Paul Hughes. I think we've just come into 2023, 2024, right on the cusp of when things are changing in the UFC. And I suppose it's a heads up for any other Irish pros out there that are watching it, that it's not a sure thing that you get your belt in these promotions and now you're in the UFC, that it's harder. So I think the climate has changed, the road has changed to the UFC, and myself and Paul are just unfortunate enough that we landed upon it, as it was changing. So I think that's what we're going to see now. Like in 5 years' time, how many people are going to be trying to get into the UFC? Like it's just multiplying every year, the numbers of legit prospects that are coming out. It's going to be so hard to get in as a guy or a girl. It's going to be really difficult. And I think that we're going to see that in 5, 10 years' time, it's going to look very different.
Yeah, the landscape, especially over the past 2 or 3 years, has really changed. That you've got Octagon that have started moving into Western Europe as well, over to UK and Ireland. You've got so many other promotions as well that are kind of expanding. Like you said, you've got the Contender Series, which is another option. Tough is kind of revigorated again. We've got a couple of Irish people over there, so I think it is like you actually explained it better than I could ever think of and explain it. That you just came in at the time, or you just hit that peak at the time where it's all changing. But going forward, I'm pretty sure you and Paul Hughes are two people that will be in the UFC in the near future, and you deserve. I believe you deserve to be there, in my opinion, and you should have been there before now. But what will happen in time. We Not only that, like you've held that together very well, and it's with being a free agent now going forward. Obviously, the ball's in your court. Like I said, you can choose, and hopefully you get something short notice. But that's not all you do as well. What I originally wanted to talk to you about was obviously the youths that you went away with. Do you want to talk about
Yeah.
because I just want to say you're a fantastic role model. I've actually interviewed you in person. It was one of my favorite interviews to go through your story. You're a fantastic role model. How was that coming back with 23 medals?
It was great. Like, honestly, it was amazing. Like, I, I don't know. I presumed it was going to happen. Like, I was really confident going over it had to happen because they're just, they're putting in so much work now. And, work doesn't always get results, but it's just the system that we have going with IMA and with the youths, that I can see them constantly getting better in the sessions, and really like believing in themselves, and just their skills and their confidence is just grown and grown. And this tournament landed like just perfect timing because we've been training hard since last August, and it's a long time till August again. So to get this big European tournament in the middle of that, I'm not surprised. I really am at all. Yeah, it's amazing. It is a bit scary that I instantly feel like, oh God, we're going to have to do this at every tournament because the pressure's on. Because people are like singing my praises all week, and I'm kind of like, oh Jesus, I have to like up my game between now and August, because August is a Worlds, and that's going to be even harder. So yeah, it definitely comes with a bit of pressure, a bit of imposter syndrome. I wonder, am I doing the right things and can I keep doing this? But it's not just me. It's Ima, it's Alan, it's Mikey, it's Richie in the sessions, it's Marlene. Marlene is the backbone of this. She works for Ima like voluntarily, same as myself, and she's also a part of the board, and she does huge work behind the scenes, and so does Lee Moog as well down in Cork. So we have this huge team of people that are driving these youths, and we're getting the results, and it does just make me so proud seeing the kids working together as a team. Ireland, like first time ever I seen it in Europe. The first time I've ever seen a team Ireland actually be a team Ireland. So I've represented Ireland myself at the Europeans and at a World Championships, and that we weren't a team. We were a bunch of people that travelled over, and we all wore the same tracksuit, but we weren't a team. And there was a lot of animosity between groups of people, between different gyms, between the north and the south even. I remember hearing lads from the Republic like shitting on the northern lads and stuff. and we're a whole Ireland team, so we're Northern Ireland and Ireland together, and that has been the way since I started in 2016 representing Ireland as an athlete. I've never ever seen Ireland go anywhere as a team, and finally in 2024 with these kids 12 to 17, they were a team. Northern Ireland, Ireland, every club you could imagine that you think don't get on at the amateur and professional level, they all get on as kids. And there was kids that had lost fights and they weren't getting a medal, and they warmed up the kids that were about to fight. So they did, and that's because they're part of Team Ireland, and they were from completely different gyms and complete rival gyms. I stood in corners of kids from gyms that are nothing to do with me, and I had a connection with all those kids, and so did the other coaches. And that's to me what Team Ireland is. And we're providing an environment in SVG Ireland once a month to create that relationship with those kids together. And they're pushing each other and they're working together as a team. And this is what happens when you actually become a team. You get results. That's what I think anyway. And that's kind of what I've been going on.
No, it does sound like a complete team, and like you said, you're saying there's pressure on you now, but I think what you've done and just keep doing it is just fantastic. And when you talk about those kids that are from what you might say rival gyms within the amateur scene or the professional scene, because when you look at, they're all kids that want the same goal, that are on the same journey, and for a kid, especially between 12 and 17, to be able to have the maturity, because like losing isn't easy. And especially at a tournament like that, to be able to then go ahead and help their teammates for the next fights, I think is just unbelievable. I think that probably stems through the system, to yourself, Alan, like you said, Marlene, and the system that you've created there for these kids going forward. So whatever you do from here is always going to be good. And like I said, special shout out to Marlene and Liam Og, because they do Trojan work that no one gives them credit for. They don't look for credit, but they do so much behind the scenes that doesn't get acknowledged. So thank you for acknowledging them, and I want to acknowledge them here myself. But yeah, like three of your girls actually got was it three girls got gold as well, didn't they? How did that make you as their individual coach as well as Team Ireland coach?
Yeah, like when I'm in their corner, like I feel a little bit more pressure, and like I really wanted for them, because I suppose I know their parents and I know them more than I know everyone else. But it's the same high I get for like a gold in Relentless as it is a high when I get a gold for Team Ireland. Like, and I think the more that comes together for me, and the more that it just all feels the same, it means I'm in the right position and I'm the right person for the job. Because I don't like to just focus on Relentless. Like, I didn't even warm up any of my girls. Actually, one of them I got to warm up. They got walked down by other coaches and brought out to the ring by other coaches, and I met them out there. And that's the way it should be, because I'm Team Ireland coach. I'm not Relentless coach when I go over there. But the morning of the Youth C and Youth B, I woke up and I was talking to Alan on the phone because he was at a competition in England. And I said, I think we're going to get 3 gold medals today. And he's like, oh God, I hope you don't get disappointed. And I said, no, I think we're going to do it. And they did. You know, we had 3 super strong girls, and I just had a lot of confidence in them that they were going to get through the tournament and they were going to do it. And you know, it was 8:30 or something before the last girl was about to fight, and I thought, oh God, please say she gets it, because it'd be so hard to be the only one that didn't, like when the other 2 did. But she did. She put on a striking masterclass, and she won as well. So yeah, it's amazing to have our girls doing well and our gym doing well, and then we know, I suppose, what we're doing at home in our gym are the right things, and then hopefully we can bring some of that stuff across to the Irish sessions. But I'm not codding myself to think the technical stuff I do once a month in the Irish session is what's winning all those medals. I think it's more providing the environment for 3-4 kids that are the same age, same weight, to train together, to push each other. And then when it comes to fighting a Russian or Ukrainian or whoever, that they're able and more than able to beat those kids in medal. That's what's doing this. It's the environment. You know, anyone can stand up there and teach techniques, but it's putting these kids together and giving them the right environment and giving them a little push. It's their gyms at home, I suppose, that's doing the main work. But yeah, we're just like wrapping up in a bow at the end, I guess.
Yeah, no, and you're doing fantastically well. Like only ahead of you was Ukraine, which had, I want to say, 55 medals, which is just off the charts. What's the difference
Yeah.
between, obviously we're a small little island. Like when you see Ukraine and they dominate so highly, are they funded? They're probably, I would assume they're funded. Is this their life? Do they go to school like this? Because I know
Yeah, well,
them, us,
like
and then there was a
you,
gap.
yeah, you'll hit a nerve here with me. So I suppose the only thing that I like saying is Ukraine had double the number of athletes. I think they'd over 70 at the youth tournament. We had 30. So we couldn't get 56 medals. Like we can't, because the most we could get is 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
So they can beat us on numbers, which is fine. But I don't think you get anywhere in life complaining about funding. And if I spend the next 20 years coaching and whinging how Ireland doesn't get funded, that doesn't make my team of kids any better. And you know, there's people all around the world that win Olympic medals with no funding. You know, this happens in every sport. There is some countries that strongly push sport and fund, but funding doesn't create world champions and doesn't buy Olympic medals. I don't believe that. It's individuals that do that, and it's the support and team around them. And the way we run our squad sessions one Sunday of every month, I'd like to think is off the same level of what the Irish Boxing Club team is doing. We're just doing it voluntarily, but we still are really high level, dedicated group of people between the physio, the first aid, the lady that's on the door, the 4 coaches that are on the mat, Marlene and Lean doing all the admin. We're doing this at the same level that these other funded sports are doing. We're just doing it voluntarily. So I think we should focus less on the fact that we're not funded. If we want to put our energy into trying to support IMA to get Sport Ireland recognised, that's probably a better way to do it. We're never going to get funded until Sport Ireland recognises as a sport. So if anyone out there is interested in helping with that, they can help and volunteer with IMA, because it's IMA that's pushing that over the line. Once we get recognised, we will eventually get some money. It'll be very small. It's probably buy us all a t-shirt, you know. So I think it'll be long past our generation, if ever, that Irish MMA is going to operate at the level of maybe Ukraine or Russia or whatever. But we can sit here and complain, or we can say, you know what, we've got dedicated people that don't need money, we don't need funding. We've got very dedicated parents that they're putting their hands into their pockets and they're helping their kids to go to these events. So we're going to do all right without the funding, and we'll still have world champions regardless of any of that.
No problem. And I wasn't questioning any of the levels of training or anything. It was just my curiosity was how many athletes did they have to get 55 medals, and what potentially do they do differently? And like you said, if it becomes recognized and it is funded, people think you're just going to they go, oh, everything we pay for. The Sports Ireland don't pay for everything. They give people a certain amount of money to help them. So it's not going to be, like I said, it's going to be very little at that time. And the best we can do is just support IMA and Team Ireland going forward. Like I said, rather than putting energy into complaining about the situation, try and improve the situation through ourselves and our own actions.
Yeah, like for example, the Wrestling Association is obviously funded through Sport Ireland, and I think they get help running their Irish Wrestling Open. So they run it in the the sports complex there at the Aquatic Centre, and that's $2,500 a day or something to get that place. It's really expensive. Or you know what? I think I'm even on selling that. I think it's way more. So I presume they get huge help paying for that complex to run the event, but John gives us SPG and we have a full-size octagon. So even if we got the sports complex, like we're already doing great with what we have. So I I think Irish people, we like to feel sorry for ourselves and think we're like underdogs. And we like to say, well, if we were funded, we could have got 5 more medals. But I think we should move away from that conversation. That's not helpful. And just say, I'm going to work with the best people. I'm going to try my very best. And, it is what it is. This is the situation I'm in. We're not in Africa, we're playing a sport at a high level and we're going to international tournaments. We're very well off in that way that we can do that. So we should be grateful for what we can do and kind of steer clear from the poor Ireland isn't funded conversation. I don't think is going to like make us get more medals.
No, it's not. And like you said, there was a possibility of 30 medals and you brought home 23. So like the percentage of the athletes to medals is extremely high in that case. I'm not really good at maths, so I can't do that in my head very quickly.
Yeah, I can't do it either. And I'm after saying 30.
70%.
Yeah, it could have been like 32. Like I didn't give you an exact number, but roughly 30.
Yeah. But it's still, what I'm saying is it's a high percentage of medals per athlete's gone, which it probably outstrips what anyone else is doing. But you've got obviously
Thank you.
take part in the Four Nations. Actually, obviously you said you've got the words, you're going to be there, but is there a youth Four Nations or is that just more for the amateurs?
So there was one last year. English MMA ran it, but they said something about a Six Nations in France, supposed to be the end of April, but it was spoke about and it was never followed up on. So I don't actually know if that's going ahead because the Europeans probably took over from that. But English MMA were running Four Nations or Six Nations competitions because they weren't in IMAF last year, but this year they're back in IMAF. So they have now, I suppose, come to terms with that and they're gone back to IMAF. So I think that will mean, unfortunately, there could be less Four Nations and Six Nations tournaments run by English MMA. But it is great at the same time to get them back into IMAF. So I think that's where we're at with that. But we also have the Irish Open, so the Irish MMA youth tournament. It was in October last year, or it was in December last year, but it's going to be in October this year. And last year we had like 6 or 7 other European countries come to it. So we're going to keep building on that. And hopefully that will give us 3 tournaments a year, the Worlds, the Irish Open and the Europeans. And if the kids could do those 3 tournaments a year, if we get a Four Nations or Six Nations inside of that, great, that's like 4 tournaments. But I think that's enough because really, in my opinion, at their level, they need to be competing in striking in either K1 or Muay Thai. They need to be competing in jiu-jitsu a lot and they need to be competing in wrestling. So they should focus a lot on their specialist sports and then it should all come together maybe 3 times a year for MMA. They don't necessarily have to keep training MMA every day, but they do need to get better at their specialist sports. And now is the time because when they're 18, it'll be all systems go, amateur fighter time, and there'll be no more tournaments. Whereas now they can do all these other tournaments. They can do like the Pan Ams and they could go to Bangkok to the IFMA. Like there's so much there, like for the Muay Thai. There's so much these kids can do. So I don't think overloading them with MMA tournaments is going to be a good thing. I think 3 or 4 is like perfect.
Perfect. And then, like you said, they can go, there's so many other options for them to compete in, especially in jiu-jitsu. There's so many, every second week, it seems like there's a jiu-jitsu tournament going on here. And just the combat sports across the country has kind of exploded.
Absolutely. It's amazing. There isn't a weekend free. Like there's always somewhere to be.
Every weekend. And I just deal mainly with MMA. And for up until last week or the week before, it was like 6 weeks straight. And I was like, I'm not driving every weekend for 6 weeks to go it's just madness. And then you see fighters fighting on one show at the start and then one in the middle and one at the end. You're like, how will you do? And I won't even drive to them. But no, the sport's exploded and it's getting better. Like once again, fantastic job what you're doing, and I'll continue to support and follow whatever you're doing with the kids and your career in general. But
thank you.
I'm delighted, obviously, that you're able to become a free agent, and now the ball's in your court. I'm going to let you go. Is there anything you want to say, or anything you want to put out there for anyone to see?
like mainly I'm a free agent, and feel free to contact me, and let's see what's going to happen over the next few months. And then you know, as equally as important as that to me is huge well done to the kids who all competed in the Europeans. I'm incredibly proud of all of them, whether they got a medal or not, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next Sunday in HQ for our first squad back after the Europeans. So I'm hugely proud of those kids, and I'm really excited about this year and what it could mean for my career as well. So I feel like I'm a very lucky woman at the moment, and I'm very grateful for it all. So thanks for taking your time and talking to me today.
No, I love that. Like I said, we only had the one in-person interview, and when it comes to reaching out to people for online, I mostly do amateur, but I just really wanted to talk to you about the youths and your career, because I hadn't seen you in so long, and we wanted to get you back in there. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Be incredibly proud of what you've done with those kids and of your career so far. I really hope you get that call for the UFC, as we all are, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Thanks very much for having me on, Dave. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bye.